Hello and welcome to Moneyline. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, my lovely counterpart, the self proclaimed
It says it right there. Best podcast host in the universe.
voice of reason, Frank Cristiano.
Yes.
Yeah, and you are the voice of reason.
Of course.
And so many people are unreasonable, but you take the cake because you just speak the truth.
Absolutely. You got to cut through the bullshit and give the people what they want.
Yes,
They need information.
I agree with that. And there's been a lot of bullshit going on the last week or so, especially with the new season of the NFL, free agency beginning, new ownership, new coaches, and it's all turning into a somewhat of a cluster. A lot of surprises going on. I would say the biggest would have to be Geno Smith being traded to the Raiders.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
And committing, for $40 million.
Why? I just didn't see them getting rid of Geno Smith. I mean,
Oh,
here's a guy who the last 2 years has proven, he's there in the top 10 as far as production in the NFL at the quarterback position. So, my understanding is they didn't want to give him a long-term contract. But here the Raiders turn around, trade for him, and drop some cash for him.
I don't think the Raiders gave him a super. Did the Raiders give him 4 years?
No, I think it was
2.
I want to say it was 2, maybe 3.
It was 2 or 3.
Maybe right in the middle there, but still, that's probably something Seattle did not want to do.
Well, what were their other options? I mean, I think they could have rolled with him if they would found a way to kept Lockett.
Their option was Sam Darnold. They just signed Sam Darnold today.
I know.
So I mean, right there, they must have seen something on tape that they're confident what Sam can do. Now here's my problem with Sam Darnold.
Everyone's down on Sam Darnold.
I'm not down on him. I think he got to the right situation at the right time with Minnesota. Nothing was expected of him coming out. Okay,
they were going to go
with the Jets. Listen, with the Jets, they were just they expected the world with Sam coming out. Started his rookie year. So was he
the first pick in the draft that year?
First or second? Can't remember if he was first or second. I think he was second pick in the draft.
Okay,
I may be wrong. I thought it was second pick in the draft. But bottom line, they expected great things from him in New York. It didn't work out. He bounced around a little bit, right, as a backup in Carolina for a little while, just for a cup of coffee. Then Minnesota just takes a flyer on him because they have a major injury to the named starter in JJ. What's his name?
McCarthy.
Thank you, JJ McCarthy. So now JJ McCarthy's out. Sam steps in, but Sam had all the pieces around him. They had a decent offensive lineup in Minnesota. They had a running back in the backfield who's good. You're working.
They had great receivers.
You know what I mean. You're working with Jefferson right off the bat, but you're working with a talented group of receivers. So I think the talent level might have elevated Sam a little higher than actually where he probably lands on the quarterback chart. So now he goes to Seattle. So what happens to Seattle? He gets there. Metcalf is gone, right? DK Metcalf signed.
Well, he demanded.
He's gone. He's with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Okay, so now he's wide receiver 1 or 2, depending on what you count Pickens as, with Pittsburgh. So he's gone. Lockett is in his 30s.
Yeah.
Okay, he's been there a while. But after that, what does Seattle really have? They don't have a solid running game. They don't have a dependable. They rotate a couple backs in the backfield. I mean, Charbonnet was almost like their best running back last year, which I don't know how high is at the level either. But he's stepping into a situation in Seattle where it may bring him down the scale again as a talent, as what to show. So I'm kind of weary about Seattle dropped $100 million.
Oh, I know.
Dropped $100 million on Darnold. That's a lot of cash.
I know, but quarterbacks of his caliber are a premium these days, and you've seen what a Baker Mayfield can do for a team.
Yeah, but
if they're playing well.
At a premium, you can be a below average quarterback and make tons of money in this league.
Yeah,
below average quarterback.
There's not a lot of.
Who else got signed today? Who else got signed today by the Jets?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields, right, coming off of Pittsburgh's roster. Okay, another guy, number one pick, the Bears.
He wasn't the number one.
I thought he was the number 1 pick.
I don't believe.
No, he wasn't. Huh? I thought he was the number 1 pick in the draft. Might be my bad. Okay.
No.
First round draft pick of the Bears.
He was.
Let me restate that to be correct. Okay. So he goes. He has Very limited success in Chicago. It was bad.
The number one pick was the guy from Carolina, wasn't it? Bryce Young.
Yeah, maybe you're right. He was 2 then. Maybe Fields was
Yeah.
2 or 3. You might be. You're correct. Yeah, because Carolina took Bryce Young, which I don't know. Oh, Bryce Young had a strong end of the season, so maybe he's coming around now. You got to realize they throw these guys into the fire. You're a rookie coming out of college. You're supposed to fit into an NFL system with NFL guys that have been there for a long time, gel and be successful. It's hard. But Justin Fields bounces around Chicago, comes to Pittsburgh supposedly as a backup, ends up starting because of injury and gets in and out of the lineup all year because of injury or change of pace because Pittsburgh wasn't really happy with what they had at quarterback. And now he signs a 2-year, $40 million deal with $30 million of it guaranteed.
It's a trophy.
The agents, they should be commended for doing deals like this. It's amazing to get that kind of money out of teams.
Well, he showed very little promise. I know he played a little bit with Pittsburgh last year.
Yeah.
But to command that kind of money, and you're going into a worse situation in New York, where quarterbacks go to die.
They do. You do have a new staff. You've got Aaron Glenn.
It doesn't matter. Aaron Glenn's a defensive-minded coach.
I'm not gonna fall into that trap. I'm gonna be optimistic about the Jets. The Jets do have talent in the offensive position, except the O-line. I think the O-line needs some revamping. They need help. But they have a solid backfield. They have, Devontae Adams is gone to the Rams now for 2 years. But I still think they have, you got Wilson, and you have some talented young kids around him. You've got a tight end. I think Fields could be okay, if they get he gets the right guy to help him out. And the defense for the Jets is going to be strong.
So, they've had a strong defense. So, they've just been consistent.
I just think, and with Glenn being a defensive-minded coach, he'll have input there too as well to make them better. So I think I wouldn't be too down, but I'm more amazed at the money, Steve. I'm amazed at the money.
The cap went up like $30 million.
Yeah, but that's like, listen, if it's a bag of dog shit, it's a bag of dog shit. We want to pay 20 or you want to pay 30? I pay 20. It's dog shit.
The going rate right now for an NFL starting quarterback is $40 million.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes $50 million.
Right. So you're saying they cheated Fields got cheated $20 million.
I'm just telling you what it is. Mahomes isn't getting paid that much.
Right.
His 10-year, $400 million deal doesn't look so glamorous anymore.
No, but
Josh Allen restructured his contract to take less money.
Mahomes is a guy like Tom Brady. Tom Brady never really was
not
the highest paid. He was happy to adjust his contracts to help the salary cap to allow the team to sign better players to allow them to consistently be in the playoffs. So I think that's part of Mahomes' strategy and ideas, and I'm sure that he'll be compensated down the road.
And Brady, for all the deals he gave New England and hometown discounts, what did they really surround him with offensively, other than the year they had Moss and Welker?
Listen, he
had crap.
No, I mean they literally piecemeal together year to year, but they had a knack for finding players that fit what they wanted.
Yeah,
to do.
System. They were system
what
guys.
I mean? Like White in the backfield. That guy was fantastic.
He was
catching the ball, running in clutch situations. Hogan at wide receiver. We talked about Welker. We talked about Amendola, right?
Amendola,
So, and of course, you had Gronk there for most of the years. It was Ben Watson for a while, but you had Gronk. So, you're talking about guys that really fit what they were looking to do. They were never really a home run hitting team.
No, they were
never a home run hitting team, but they could move the ball.
Brady didn't have a super strong arm to throw the ball downfield.
No.
He was just smart with knowing where to go with it.
Absolutely.
But Sam Darnold, I think, what do you last?
Sam Darnold. As soon as you put the name out there,
I think
ashes
is another reclamation project.
Ashes to gold overnight.
It's because he was with the Jets. If they put him anywhere else, he probably would have had more success.
I can't disagree.
Baker
with
Mayfield,
that,
if he was with the Browns,
a
dumpster fire.
Yeah,
he had 4 head coaches in 4 years, 4 coordinators in 4 years.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
Right.
There is zero continuity.
I agree with that.
And
I don't disagree with that.
Teams give up on quarterbacks so fast now. They get 2 years tops.
Well, they give
done.
them no time to sit and absorb the game.
No, they're either,
And that's the mistake
thrown
these
into
teams
the
are
fire.
making. That's the mistake. You know who the Browns signed today? That quarterback,
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. How about that?
Yeah.
Now watch Kenny Pickett step in and be good.
I never thought Kenny Pickett was bad. You thought he was bad.
I never thought he was bad. I just thought he was.
You thought he was a reach for a first rounder.
Yeah, I do. I still do. I wish him success. I like him. I just don't. I think he's gone above and beyond.
He was a good quarterback in a bad class.
Yeah,
and that's why he ended up as high as he was.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But the Seahawks, I mean, if you are purely looking at it from a numbers standpoint and evaluating the quarterbacks, Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, you would say the Seahawks upgraded the position.
No.
You wouldn't?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't, because
numbers-wise, Geno Smith threw 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions last year. Sam Darnold threw 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and 4,000 yards passing.
Metcalf and Lockett were injured probably half of the year.
Exactly.
So they didn't have. So Seattle had no primaries.
Right.
Seattle's running game wasn't strong. So basically, you could defend the pass against Seattle much easier than you would have to worry about the run.
Right.
So it's different situations. I don't throw numbers in. I throw comfort level. So Geno Smith just looks comfortable in that system, in Seattle's system.
He was.
Right. He's comfortable in the system. He's successful in the system.
And he was Pete Carroll's guy.
Right. So even with Carroll gone, he's comfortable there. The numbers can be comparable. Sam Darnold had a fantastic receiving core.
Yes.
Backs in the backfield, good old line, great coordinator. I mean, bottom line, he had the Cadillac. I shouldn't even say Cadillac. Cadillac's like a backwards brand.
Well, like a Hummer.
He had the Hummer of offenses to step into and play. So I think Darnold's numbers are a little inflated. So I don't go by numbers. And Darnold did not look comfortable in the playoff game.
Well, that was the knock on him.
Right. And
if he had played better in the playoffs, then
they might have jumped through hoops and signed him for $40 a year.
Now, the other question becomes Brock Purdy. What is going to happen with him? Because some are saying that he could command $60 million a year. Some are saying that he's not worth that.
Yeah. I don't think he's worth $60 million. But on the other hand, what else is out there?
Yeah.
Where do the 49ers turn to right now, since basically
he's got one more year left.
Right. But
contract,
and also they want to start with a rookie again.
Yeah.
Where do they turn to? They don't have any. There's no security out there. All the major players are gone right now. If they're looking for down the road, so I don't know. I don't see next year. I don't even know what next year's draft class is going to look like for quarterbacks.
Right.
And who knows what position San Fran will be in to draft. They might not be able to touch one of those unless they give up a lot of trade equity.
And the biggest fools out of all this are the Cleveland Browns. They traded 3 first-round draft picks.
They started the whole thing with the money increase
for a guy who started 17 games in 2 years or 3 years or whatever it was.
Yeah. They got fooled.
And they just restructured his contract. He's owed every penny of the $233 million. And the question now becomes,
when does he get it?
Well, no, they spread it out.
Right.
They restructured it. He's going to get it over the next 5 years because they were way over the cap. They give Myles Garrett the highest paid contract ever for a defensive lineman.
Yeah, they had to.
I don't think they had to.
They had to. The fan base would revolt. The fan base would revolt.
They've already revolted.
Yeah, but
pretty sure they revolted.
They revolt in an amnesia kind of way.
Amnesia.
So Cleveland yells and screams. They say the team sucks when they leave the stadium. They come back the following week because they forgot all about the week before.
Well, amnesia. That's what any season ticket holder does.
No. Some of us don't go back.
You would boycott the Cleveland Browns?
Some of us don't go back.
You boycotted the reservation.
I did.
You went back.
I did, but for 2 years. I gave it 2 years before I decided to come back and actually watch and partake and maybe buy a set of tickets to go down there.
Right.
I'm not there giving my sweat and blood to a team that was led by a buffoon as an owner and an administration top to bottom from GM all the way down to head coach when it was Rivera. That they look like total idiots.
What's the biggest difference between Josh Harris and Daniel Snyder? Is it just Josh Harris is hands off?
It's probably no. I don't think Josh Harris is hands off. I think he's there. We see him at games. We see him. I'm sure he has some sort of minimal input, but I think top to bottom, from the hire at GM all the way down, they've made smart moves for smart people to make smart decisions.
Right.
So that you need to look at the past week, what Washington has done.
Amazing.
To upgrade a team that got, surprisingly got to the NFC Finals, championship game. Very surprising. And we didn't expect that, but Jaden Daniels turned out to be just one hell of a pick. So right off the bat, there's a great decision. That turned around a 4-13 team.
Yep.
All right. So look at the decisions they have just made in the last week. They go out and they sign. They don't sign. They trade for Deebo Samuels.
Yep.
4th round pick for Deebo Samuels. I think that was
that's a bargain.
Yep. Right now, and then just today, Laramie Tunsil. Coach.
There he is.
Prison. Break me out.
It's the lineup right there.
Coach, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm a little.
Did your microphone handle break again?
No, I kind of was holding it at the end of our podcast earlier, and I was like, I kind of like.
You like it? You like
it?
It's like you're being interviewed by ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Better. I don't know.
We were talking about the recent free agent moves in the NFL.
Sure.
And the Commanders of Washington / Redskins, and the signing of Deebo Samuel. And then today they go out and they get Tunsil, the offensive tackle.
Oh, Laramie Tunsil.
From Houston. They end up giving up 2 draft picks this year, 2 draft picks next year.
It was that much?
2nd and a 4th, I think, this year, and then like a 3rd and a 4th next year.
I don't agree with it.
And they got like a 3rd return on that. Oh, it's fantastic.
4 draft picks for a 30-year-old offensive tackle.
Guy's been all pro 4 of the last 5 years.
Okay. Laramie Tunsil, former NUC sports superstar.
No, yeah, you had him.
Yeah, he was.
Is he a Jersey guy?
No, he's from like. Is he Georgia or Mississippi?
Oh, that's right. He's down south.
Maybe he went to Mississippi and he's from Georgia. Something like that.
Yes. But he worked with you.
He didn't work with me. He actually came to my events. That's how old I am.
Oh, okay.
That's how old I am. He came to our showcases like in the 2000. I must have been like 2000. How old did you say he is now? 30?
He's 30.
30, yeah.
So about probably 10 years
ago.
So
when he was 16, he probably was there. So 14 years ago. Yeah, 2010, 11. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Did you help him with recruiting?
That was the heyday. So that would have been when he would have came through.
Did you help him with recruiting too, or no? He just came to your show.
Well, he's like back then. It was so many literally we did 20,000 kids a year. 20,000 kids a year. So if you were, I would say half of the stars in half of the Division I athletes. Maybe it wasn't a half. It was like a third back then. I think a third of them at one point were from our events. So I mean, there's so many kids were coming through, and we used to have a whole process. We'd send it out to all the colleges. We follow up monthly, send out an updated list. It was a whole, now we do that, but we don't have to do as much because it's not as many events. But we would do that whole process like monthly. It was a. Yeah, so he probably was an MVP. I'm certain he was. Yeah, I remember the name even back then. So,
did you run events in July too, or did you shut it down?
We did. Our last event. The process used to be local camps around the country to what we called the Ultimate 100 camps. We would run 5 of them 5 or 6 around the country, and then. So we would run it like we would run Midwest, Southwest, Southeast, West, and then then East, Northeast.
Were they invite only?
Yes. And then
okay.
So you'd have the regular ones where everybody could go. Then you had the Ultimate 100 was the first filter down. And then there was a second filter, which was called the Top Prospect Camp, which was at which originally at the University of Oklahoma before some of the rule changes. But Bob Stoops was the head coach, and Mike, what's the guy? It's the
Gundy.
no, it was Gundy. It was Gundy's brother, not the Oklahoma State guy, but his brother. And then the guy who used to always be there and take us around was the guy who's the Colorado State head coach.
The guy that called out
the guy who had the battle with Dion.
Sunglasses, yeah.
Yeah. That he was on that staff, and then the lower man on the totem pole who ended up rising up pretty high, and then he left, and I think he might have been at UNLV, Jason White, and then he went to maybe JUCO. I mean, it was
Jason White. Yeah.
You know Jason White,
the Heisman Trophy winner.
I'm sorry, not Jason White. No, was it Jason White? I can't remember now. Maybe it wasn't Jason White. But anyway, now my mind's going. So then we have the top prospect camp, which had like the names that I like. I mean, there was a lot, but some of the names: DeAndre Washington. What's the guy who was a running back for Jared McKinnon? Landon Collins. I mean, I'm OJ Howard. It was like, I mean, I'm just touching the surface. I'm not even talking about the linemen that were there. It was Laramie, I think, came to the Ultimate 100 camp also. I think he went to his local camp. Some kids, didn't go beyond the local camp. That's why we had it, because they couldn't afford to leave their area. You know what I mean? So, like literally to travel, and then the kids that could travel, but yeah, I mean, it used to be Johnny Manziel, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't think Johnny Manziel came to the top prospect camp though. I think he went to the Austin local camp, our local Austin camp.
Well, he was hung over at the Manning camp, so that wasn't a good look.
In high school, he played in our All-American game. And so did Marcus Mariota. They were on the same team. They were literally on the same team. And but Marcus didn't play much. He carried the ball, like he ran a couple times, and it was like beat up. He sat down. Johnny Manziel, dude, like I gotta give him credit. That dude just like balled out.
Played out, yeah.
I was like, who is this little guy running? I mean, he wasn't really little, but like he was like 6 feet,
Yeah.
Like running around. Like we knew he was good. Like we obviously we used to have this dinner the night before the All-American game in the early days when we was really like, I mean, we lasted for a long time, but like the first 4 or 5 years, we used to do a whole to-do thing before prices started going crazy, like for banquets. It was in Myrtle Beach, and we were the first people to run All-American game there.
Yeah.
And then they started growing their like sports and whatever they call it, entertainment bureau. Now it's like a hotbed for sports things. It's so expensive, you know what I mean? So they don't, unless you're going to do a banquet and this and that, they don't want you anymore. So, because I remember when they pushed us out of there, like in like 2018 or 19. But yeah, we used to run this banquet, and Johnny Manziel, we got an award. So did Marcus Mariota. But Johnny Manziel got like the top player of the year. He had counted for 70 touchdowns his senior year.
No, I remember, but I thought he didn't go to like a massive high school, like a big
he went to Tivy High School, which was like the equivalent. I don't know how New York is, but like I would say New Jersey would be the equivalent to like a Group 3 school. Maybe smaller, maybe a Group 2, probably a Group 2.
Wow.
They were. I think 3A back then. So that's small in Texas, 3A. So that's probably like a group 2 in New Jersey, which is pretty small. Not small at my high school. My high school was group 1 in New Jersey that I went to. But he was like that. They went there because that was like in their area of Texas. That was like a pretty good football program. And the father wanted him to get the discipline because the guy was a disciplinarian. He probably knew that Johnny was a little bit of like probably when he was young. But he knew the guy was, and he played. I think Johnny Manziel played from the time he was like a sophomore on, and but his senior year, 70 touchdowns. I think he ran for 30 and threw for 40. I mean, those numbers are like 70 touchdowns. No one scores 70 touchdowns in
their career.
Two careers in high school. Yeah. He scored in one season, accounted for 70. I've never heard of it. It's almost as crazy. Actually, I think it's more crazy than what Derrick Henry did in high school. I mean, his senior year, he rushed for 4,500 yards.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry his senior year, but
4,500 yards.
4,500 yards.
Insane. That's insane.
Is that insane? Yep,
it's insane. I mean,
Derrick Henry came to my event. We used to host an event at Yulee High School because the high school coach knew that Derrick Henry was coming there. He came to our event in 8th and 9th grade, and then after that, he didn't bother, I think we were still hosting it there, but he would just hang out, But he came in 8th and 9th grade. I think they wanted to, and this is vague so it's not exactly right, I think. But I remember it was something along the lines they wanted to host it because everybody in the state wanted him to come to their school. And Yulee is the equivalent of like a Group 1 high school. Like you might have seen him talk about it maybe on the Pivot podcast where he talks about his high school where they were the champs, but they wanted him on ESPN. So they paired them against some team and they just got killed like 50-7 because they were a tiny high school. Like literally a tiny, tiny high school who happened to have, and they were good, but a small school good. You know what I mean? They happened to have the nation's all-time leading rusher on it, but he legitimately rushed for 4,000 yards in high school.
And literally, so Johnny Manziel, Texas football, the state championship goes to 14 games, or maybe 16?
It might be 16.
It might be 16.
That's
basically.
I don't know if he won or not. I don't know if he won the state championship. I mean, they went deep into it.
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
So figure he had about 5 to 6 scores a game.
It's insane.
Oh, easily.
When people talk about, it's funny because when you do what I did. And Marcus Mariota, like I would tell a story about Marcus Mariota. We used to run a Hawaii event. We used to run an Alaska event. We used to run a Boise, Idaho event. We used to run Seattle, Washington. And we found Colt Liorla in Portland, Oregon, who to this day, although we don't really do combine testing as much anymore, but he held our broad jump record. He went 11 feet or 10-11, something like that. It was mind blowing. Yeah, 10-11. He went in high school. He's a tight end at Oregon. He was the top tight end recruit in the country. Went to Oregon, played for Chip Kelly, loved Chip Kelly. Then Helfrey took over. He tells me I represented him when he was trying to come back to the NFL because he was screwed up. He was involved in drugs and stuff. And but he had a very tough life. Like his coach brought him to our event. They, like our grandfather. It was they were trying to get him on the right path. But he was legitimately. I just telling the story the other day. He came to our event in Oklahoma, our top prospect camp. I think it was his grandfather, his coach, or whatever, brought him there. And he's the only player in the history. There was one other kid once that I think that was also like just so developed. But I remember this. So when Colt was going from one drill to the next, he like took his shirt off and was running. It was like one of these movies, but he was a 16-year-old kid at the time. Running, he's an Adonis, okay, 6'5", 230 pounds, jack, ripped, fast, all that stuff. It was embarrassing because you were watching 40-year-old women, the moms, when he ran by, all the moms' heads went.
They turned.
He was built like he looked like a 28-year-old man at 16 years old. I mean, I always thought he was a great kid. He just, unfortunately went down the wrong path. And he loved Chip Kelly, wasn't a huge fan of Helfried. Helfried wasn't a huge, or whatever, Helfrich or whatever, wasn't a huge fan of him. That didn't work. That's why he came out early. He shouldn't have came out early. But like, he was unbelievable. Found him in Portland, or I think it was Portland. No, it was Salem, Oregon. And then Mariota, we ran the Hawaii event, and the guys who went out to Hawaii, when they ran that event, by the way, they loved it, going out there. And when they ran the event in Hawaii, Marcus Mariota, like it's like we had this kid as a quarterback that got every award. He ran like 4.49 in the 40. I'm like, what? And he was like 6'4" and like 200 pounds. I'm like, what? A quarterback? Like this is, now you see, now you really know a lot of these things much more because the services there's like 4 of them now, like, Rivals 24/7 on 3. All started by the same guy, by the way, and just sold it and then started a new one. He started Rivals, Shannon Terry, sold it, started 24/7, sold it, started on 3. How brilliant is that, by the way? That guy's worth an insane amount of money.
Just keep
Same
making
business.
money.
As soon as his non-compete, he would do like a 1 year or 2 year, whatever their deal was. Basically, take the cash, start the same exact thing, just better.
Well, he knew the secret sauce.
Of course, he did.
He knew the formula on how to make it work.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Brilliant. We were talking about the quarterback situation, how Geno Smith is with the Raiders now. Sam Darnold goes to Seattle.
110 million, right?
Yeah, and
wow.
It seems like these teams miss on these quarterbacks and give up on them too early.
Was it Drew Rosenhaus? Who was his agent?
Oh, it's got to be somebody like that.
God. Do you think that Johnny Manziel could have resurrected his career?
I don't know that Johnny Manziel, just from listening to some of the interviews that I've listened to with him.
Yeah, he didn't really care.
I don't know that he was as into football at that time. No. Even though, listen, if he was 6'5" screwing around like he was, he probably would still be in the league.
Got more of a chance, yeah.
But at his size, if he's not putting everything into it, I think even though he was obviously incredibly talented, but I think the defensive ends are too fast now for you to kind of screw around and be that kind of a player. Whereas, listen, if he was playing 15 years earlier, he probably could have half screwed around like he was and had a 10-year career. But not now. Those defensive ends are too fast. They just walk you down. These guys walk you down. They're too fast.
Yeah, you don't think he could have succeeded regardless?
I don't know. I think if he didn't go to Cleveland, he might have had a chance.
Yeah.
I think if he stayed intact, that's why they were saying Jerry. Remember the whole thing with Jerry Jones was going to take him in Dallas. Yeah. Honestly, I thought Dallas or Houston would I'm not that Houston had to pick it, but Dallas or Houston, those would be places that would be fine. He's a Texas kid. He's not from the Dallas area or the Houston. He's literally a Texas, born
and bred
in rural areas of Texas, oil, and I think he probably would have done better there. But who knows? I mean, it's and I think if NIL was around back then, even though he was getting
NIL anyway,
he would have broke every NIL record there ever was. I mean, there was no. It's funny because
when he running it.
When he became the Heisman Trophy winner, the year before he got arrested, I think, as a freshman. Next year, he won the Heisman Trophy, or maybe he was right. I don't remember if he was right. I don't remember what it was. But what he was doing at Texas, he did the exact same thing in our All-Star game. Like, if you watch the highlights, if you pull it, you could probably pull it up on YouTube and you would see the highlights of him at it was at the time called the All-World game. And he's doing the same thing, dude. He's running around and throws a strike like when he was doing it, it was like, I don't know. I felt like it was the first time I had seen a high school kid that could move around like that and then still set their feet and throw and just put it in there on a rope. As athletic and as great, Marcus Mariota was big, athletic, all those things. That's helped to make him like what he was. Johnny was not he wasn't even thick. He was if he walked by you in high school,
he looked like a regular person.
He looked like a golfer. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like he didn't have muscles. He had muscles, but like
he loved the golf. Yeah.
he wasn't like literally. He was 180 pounds, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
I mean,
crazy that they give up on a first round pick so
but they
soon.
do it all the time in the NFL. I mean,
Now they do. Yeah.
That's the mistake. I don't understand why they don't learn from this. Guys coming out of college, and listen, it's
an
really
adjustment.
looking at it. It's a rookie contract. It's not a ton of money coming out.
No, it's not.
But
like
bottom
it used
line,
to
they're
be.
throwing these guys into the fire week 4, week 5. You see the kid, he's ready, throw him in there, or he starts the season as a rookie. And yes, there's the anomalies like a Jaden Daniels. But how many guys can really survive as a rookie and be successful to be, to move on to a second year and have even more success? Too many flameouts. These guys need to sit for a couple of years and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, it's a lot thrown at him, but
I mean, that's what made Aaron Rodgers good. He got to sit for a couple of years.
2 years.
I mean,
Yep.
Right.
Phillip Rivers.
And listen, same with Love. I mean, I think Green Bay maybe has the formula. Love sat for a couple before he went in, and Rodgers was gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, those 2 years that
takes
you're
the
getting on the
pressure
bench,
off you.
it does, and it also allows you to you're matriculating into a whole new. It's a different universe. College ball to pro ball, it's a different universe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that could be different because of NIL and the transfer portal down the line is you may get more Penixes of the world coming out later. Like, so you may get, I don't know if that'll change their abilities or not, but they'll be more mature.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like rookie wise, I mean, who was the class last year? It was Caleb Williams. I would say he had some good games. He had some bad games. Like he was probably middle of the road,
Right. Bo Nix actually progressed nicely, but he's 26.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got some mileage.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
He's been around. He's
He's
not
a man. Yeah, he's not a child. He's not. He's not 21 stepping into a firestorm.
Jaden Daniels. I mean, there was a lot of
Daniels did awesome. He was the best guy last year of all of them. I thought, even though who went higher, Caleb or Jaden?
Caleb was the number one.
Caleb was number one
for the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Commanders caught a break.
Yeah, they did, big time,
because he was the Heisman Trophy winner, and now you're seeing with LSU that, he really was he was the real deal. Like the guy they have there, they thought this guy was behind him was going to be just as good. I mean, he's just not.
I don't think Penix is going to end up being that great. Do you think Penix is going to be great?
Going to be decent. I think he's going to be decent.
You think he's going to be better than Cousins?
He'll be around. He'll be around until he gets until maybe. I mean, he does have the double knee replacement, replacement. ACL.
ACLs, yeah.
You know, when he gets around 30, maybe that does start to cause a problem for someone like him, just because, or early 30s, because just maybe knee wear and tear.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think until then, I think it'll be fine. Like until
what's the average lifespan of a quarterback? 3 years now in the NFL, 4 tops, maybe, unless you're a rarity and you go
for them.
They're dead or they move on and you don't see them anymore. So take your shot for 3 years on a guy. If he produces, he produces. That's all it is. It's a crapshoot.
Well, no, that's the other thing.
Guy? What do you
if they had a developmental league like NFL Europe or the league that you had been proposing, they need reps. If they get those reps, they can develop.
They do. I agree with that. But some guys are. I agree with that. A developmental league would help, but I don't see. I mean, the only guy that comes to mind is Kurt Warner. Played arena ball or
Jake
something. That
Delhomme.
Jake Delhomme. Yeah, Jake Delhomme. But I mean, I think it's hard in that situation coming from developmental to bust all the way into an NFL lineup. I really think it's difficult. I think the developmental league. Yeah, the developmental league is there for injury cause. Like if your team racks up a whole bunch of injuries and you got to run to the reserve, give me this guy. At least he's fucking running around and not eating hot dogs at the corner. You know what I mean? I think that's where the developmental league helps.
I also think that, if you look over, all right, since Brady came in, which is almost 30 years ago, maybe 20, 25 years ago, 26 years ago. So if you go back to when Brady came in, Brady was a 6th rounder. Romo was 7th or 6th, late, who did pretty well.
Yeah,
and then
Romo was Eastern Illinois. He was a Division II guy.
and Kurt Warner. Okay, how many
Kurt
other,
Warner was coming off the Super Bowl win.
right? How many other guys were from a much lower draft
Oh,
level?
the 2000 draft class was not great.
I'm
Drew Henson
sorry,
was in there, I think.
I mean, in the last 25 years, how many? The only three guys are really those guys that are come from like Nowhereville, and that
Well,
was,
Matthew Stafford.
he was a first round pick from
First
Georgia.
round pick.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're saying you're
I'm
saying
saying
coming from
guys who are
nowhere.
a low
Yes.
level pick that were
Yes.
successful. All of them are from the eras of like
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy is the fourth. You're right. There you go. That's probably the only modern one. The other three were from 20 years ago.
Well, Dak Prescott was
He's third or fourth round. He's not.
Yeah.
It's still middle of the road. I don't think that's low. I think of low as like 6th or 7th round because those guys can be a lot of times are cut.
Yes.
So
And it's all. You think when they drafted Tom Brady, they're like, we got our guy.
Drake May was also part of the class last year.
yeah, but he was first round. He was the first pick, right?
No, but I mean, you were talking about Caleb Williams and some of the other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Drake, actually, that class wasn't bad.
I think Drake May will be good. Yeah.
They're probably better than there has been.
I think JJ McCarthy was a reach.
They said Cam Ward and Shador Sanders would, if they were last year,
yes,
they wouldn't be picked to like the future rounds.
Correct. Yes, they did say that. But I think McCarthy was a reach by the Vikings. I don't think McCarthy's going to be anything special.
No.
JJ McCarthy with the Vikings, he was the one that got hurt. The guy that I think is going to honestly be the biggest difference maker is the Boise State running back. He's the guy that can come in. Yeah, he can come in and put up some numbers for you fast and make a difference. And it's easier for a running back to establish themselves.
Yeah, and as we found out with Saquon, if you put these guys with a line instead of some crappy line, look what they can do. So that's a big part of it. Like, listen, the differences in the NFL are obviously skilled players are important, but bottom line is, if you got a line, dude, you have a huge advantage over.
Well, you can't hide anyone up front. It's very difficult to hide a deficiency up front with a guard.
Do you think the lines are? Do you think there's a bigger divide now between the good lines and the bad lines than there was in the olden days, or do you think?
Yeah, because they'll try to be cheap and take a lesser guy and hide him, as opposed to paying someone. They'll say, "Oh, we can save on the left guard and just help them and hide them."
I also think the rate of throwing in the last 30 years has gone up, astronomically.
Yes.
So bottom line, you can see guys that are deficient.
You can get
in pass pro, and that's a telltale sign of what you consider good. Nobody's, granted, Philadelphia, great line overall, but a nice running line as well with the size they have up front, and the technique. There's a couple other lines that are decent running wise, just in Minnesota. But bottom line, when you're evaluating an offensive lineup, you're evaluating their pass blocking.
You have to.
Right.
First and foremost, you got to keep your quarterback upright.
Exactly.
The teams that lose their quarterbacks, their seasons are over. I mean, it's completely done.
Yeah.
So that's a huge deal. But we were talking about Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. Frank disagreed with me. Sam Darnold had 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 4,000 yards passing. Geno Smith had 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, but he did have a 70% completion percentage. And Frank still thinks Geno Smith's the better quarterback.
I do. I think right now Geno Smith will. And now, granted, let's backtrack for a second. Do I think he's going to be the better quarterback in the Raiders system? I don't think so. I don't know how that fits yet.
Well, it's
right in Seattle.
Well, I think Pete Carroll.
I think people in Seattle, Geno was comfortable. He never looked phased, rattled, pressured.
Well, this was the first year he had a down year.
Right, but I wouldn't even consider this a down year. We talked about it before. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett were out for half the year.
Right.
So he had no primaries to throw to, and he had a crap running game. It wasn't a great running game. When Charbonneau's your best running back, you know that's an issue. So I mean, I think Geno Smith will cover. I think Sam Darnold is the anomaly because he's only there for 1
It
year.
was just a 1 year fluke.
He shit the bed in his other couple locations. Okay, so granted,
He
a cup of
did.
coffee in Charlotte, but bottom line, I think that he had a great core of receivers around him. He had a good running game around him. He had an above average offensive line around him. It was a perfect fit to allow him to showcase some of his skills. So he got assistance from everybody around him to make him look better. Now he's coming to Seattle. Metcalf's gone.
Yeah.
Lockett's another year older.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what they've improved around them. So bottom line, offensively, he's coming into what could be a much lesser valued.
There's going to be a lot on his shoulders.
Right. So I think he may struggle. Whereas Geno Smith was comfortable there. I thought they should just re-sign Geno Smith, but they don't want to give him a long-term deal. But I don't know what he got from the Raiders. Did he get 2 years from the Raiders or 3? He didn't get a ton.
I thought he got 4 for some reason.
Well, if he got 4, then he did well.
Because I mean, he's 34,
right?
But I'm going to double check.
So I feel Geno wasn't the problem for Seattle. I think the problem for Seattle was they need a line. They have a couple rookies at tackle. Both tackles are rookies. I think they need a little help at line, and they need a running game. Ashton Gentry would be perfect for them. There's a team that needs a number 1 running back. I don't know
who Ashton.
Yeah, and I don't think they're high enough to be able to get him. He'll probably be off the board before Seattle would pick.
Well, he's going to be one of the highest drafted running backs in a while. And right. I wanted to ask you because you've had a love affair with Najee Harris.
Yeah,
the Steelers aren't picking up his option.
No, they're not going to. No.
I don't understand that one.
Well, because
did he just not have a good?
I think he's not an explosive back.
Right.
He's a steady ball carrier. He doesn't have explosive speed. He's great tackle to tackle. But I think he's better than that. Maybe the Pittsburgh system may not be right for him either. I don't know. In the Pittsburgh system, everybody's jamming up on the line on him defensively because they're not great at throwing the ball. Russell Wilson did a couple spurts here or there, but they lack that downfield passing game to be effective to open up the run game a little bit. So I think Najee Harris is a great back for a team that that needs a back. There's Seattle could sign Najee. So,
yeah,
I think that's an option for them too.
Yeah, Darnold's deal is for 3 years.
3 years, 100 or 100.
You got a 3-year deal, $100 million, $55 million guaranteed.
Great agent.
So
great agent.
That's not a ton of money.
Frozen?
No, he's not frozen.
No. Okay.
Okay. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were frozen. You were looking down. It said you must be reading. My bad.
No, he's not. He's not frozen. But and then the question still becomes: are the Rams going to trade Matthew Stafford?
No, they signed him.
Oh, they did restructure his deal.
Yep. Stafford's there. They brought in Devontae Adams. So right. Now he'll probably take the place of Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp will be released if no one trades for him. Cooper Kupp is an attractive item right now for teams that are lacking receiver strength, without a doubt. So that's a great fit.
It was Justin Fields who got a 2-year, $40 million deal from the Jets.
Right, $30 million guaranteed.
Dave, what did you think of that? The Jets going with Justin.
Great move.
Out of everyone, they go with Justin Fields.
Well, my guess is that they like losing.
They're buffering for another high pick.
That's all they know how to do.
Lose.
It really is. That's all they know how to do.
Are they going? I think he'll put up numbers. I just don't.
He's never put up numbers.
Running wise, he will.
Oh, running wise, he will. Yes.
They'll have 2,000-yard rushers in the backfield.
Yes.
It'll be him and Hall, or him and who's the other kid they got there? I like the other kid better. Damn, I can't remember his name. He's big.
The Jets are they're a
dumpster fire.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean,
they really are.
It's a sad state of affairs there. I mean, Aaron Rodgers. Wait a minute. So they didn't like Aaron Rodgers, so they went with okay.
By the way, that's going to be your next Steeler quarterback right there, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I hope the Giants jump back in and try to get him.
No, I think the Giants will get Russell Wilson. I think you'll
Oh
see Wilson
God,
be
please
traded
no,
once they sign Aaron Rodgers.
please
They'll
no.
get rid of Wilson, and he'll be a Giant.
Well, Russell Wilson's not under contract, is he?
I thought he was. I thought he had a 2-year contract coming in.
Okay,
So
I didn't know he
I
had.
thought he was under contract.
I didn't know he was under contract.
I mean, not be.
Well, the other question is Daniel Jones. I wonder where he's going to end up.
He'll be in Minnesota.
He's a free agent technically.
Don't
though.
resign him.
Oh, you think they'll resign him?
What if McCarthy shits the bed?
I think McCarthy will shit the bed. I don't think
Yeah,
McCarthy's
he hasn't been active in a year. How do you throw the guy under center and tell him to start taking starter snaps? So maybe Daniel Jones is there. They said that Minnesota was actually impressed at what Jones had done for them in the short while he was there, as far as in practice. So who knows? I think they'll sign him.
Dave and I were talking earlier. I read an article on ESPN about NIL deals from the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12.
Yeah.
They disclosed, or someone got a hold of the NIL contracts. And basically, you sign away your NIL rights. The school can do whatever they want to make their money off of you. You don't get a dime of it. You get paid by whatever they pay you for the NIL.
Right.
But now,
so jersey sales, things like that, it's all school. It's all school. It's okay.
But the other thing they're trying to do is to limit the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And basically, if you leave before your agreement's over, you can be forced to pay back your NIL money.
Yeah,
they're trying to do
I don't think
that.
there's anything wrong with that either.
The whole thing?
Yeah, I think it's fine. You're getting paid.
I think a percentage of it, but not the whole thing.
Not the whole thing. You signed over your image and your name and everything to the school for money.
Yes.
They're paying you. Well, really, the school's not paying you. It's the independent.
Right. Well, in some cases, the school will be now because this is the first year they can pay through.
That they can pay through. Right. Okay. So the school's paying you. They've bought you. You're their employee. Basically.
Well, there's the clause. You're not an employee. That's the thing. That's what the agents are complaining about. That they're not considered employees by the schools.
I think you're an employee. I'm not saying you have to fall under the school rules of education, of academia. But bottom line, you do fall into getting a check from the school. So if you're getting a check from the school has the rights to do whatever they want. They want to sell jerseys, it's theirs. Maybe a percentage, you're right. That wouldn't be a bad idea to give something back to the kid, especially if he's popular. I mean, you're going to sell a ton of stuff. Maybe he gets a little kickback on that, but I don't know. And to keep players, for me, I don't like the whole revolving door.
No, I don't either.
It's too much.
I don't either.
I'm for the players. I'd like to see them get money, but the revolving door gets too confusing after a while.
Well, even Dave said this on the 60 Minutes interview with Hurley last night.
Yeah.
Hurley said that 50%, right, Dave?
Yeah, I saw that.
50% of his team is talked to other schools and could be leaving.
Right.
Yeah.
And 50% of a basketball team. Jesus.
His 60-minute interview was great, I thought.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's very passionate. He's very well spoken, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. But I think he understands how to navigate through this landscape on being successful and what he's going to have to do year in and year out. I mean, it's going to be a hustle. It's going to be a grind. And like I said, I don't like that you have to recruit your own players year in and year out. That's what I think is ridiculous. You're gonna have to sell them on coming back. I mean, when's enough?
It's never going to be enough.
I know.
That's the overall issue, is that it's going to be a situation where these guys, I don't know how you ever get away from that. I can't.
Well, unless Congress steps in and legislates it.
I just think there needs to be an NIL cap for every team in America.
Well, there is for
the Jets are going to give Justin Fields $40 million.
I don't want to talk about it. Yes, they are.
$30 million guaranteed, Dave.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's done nothing to earn that kind of money.
$30 million guaranteed. I told my wife, she doesn't know much about sports, it's about football. She's like, wow, if I were him, I'd just go out and get hurt and call it a career or take my $30 million.
Like, yeah,
Right.
what
Dude,
has he done?
They paid J.C. Horn $100 million extension. The
Who's
DB,
that?
the Pan,
Yes. I saw that.
and
Yes, I saw
the
that.
Patriots landed defensive tackle Milton Williams, 4-year, $104 million.
Right. I saw that.
Well, it's because
And
the
the
salary
cornerback,
cap's
3
way
years,
up.
$60 million.
Right.
That's because the salary cap's way up.
My God.
Dave, when did you officially stop running the camps altogether, the showcase camps?
We
Was
still
it
run
2018?
We're still running them. We're just not running like what we ran.
But not high school kids, I thought.
Oh yeah, the underclassmen camps. Yeah. No. Couple years. Last year was the first year we really kind of started going away from it.
And is it because that most of the schools run their own one-day camps anyway, that kind of took away from kids going to your camps?
Part of it. The other part of it is kids don't want to get timed.
Oh, they won't run?
They don't want to run, dude.
You can't
They'll go to your camp and they won't run?
you can't get no looks running a 5.140.
They don't want to run. But the other issue is everybody runs a camp now on every corner.
Yeah.
And then I think the final overall issue was I don't think I changed to adapt to where the recruiting part was changing at the time. So I thought I did. I thought I pivoted properly, but I didn't pivot enough.
What do you mean as far as filming the camp or getting the film out there or?
No, I had nothing to do with the
Oh.
recruiting side of it. Had to do with
Oh.
the customer side of it, like what the kids start after
Oh.
COVID. So the year of COVID and after, we had like a resurgence because people wanted to go out and compete.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing that happened in almost every other industry, just like the restaurants, like
Yeah, like Frank at Tony's, he's booming.
Booming what?
Frank's got to line out the door.
What am I booming? $2 slices? I'm booming? Come on. Get out of here.
But like the delivery and everything. So it was kind of always kind of in line with that. Like we were first camps to really open up in our area and then around the country. But then what was already going on then came back. Like what was starting to go on in 2018 and 19 then started to come back in 22 and 23, meaning just there's more 7-on-7.
Right.
I mean, even we're running, like now I'm running, I think I have 6 tournaments this year.
Yeah.
I'll next year, I think I'm going to go to like 15 to 20.
So 7-on-7 is more lucrative than doing the camps or the combines and that sort of thing.
You get more bang for your buck, and that's what they want. The kids want that. The parents want that. They're team oriented. It's much more now. I would relate it to I don't know if I want to relate exactly to AU, but kind of like more. I would say maybe more like AU, but where the teams travel and everything like that.
Yeah, they're club teams and they travel and they play in tournaments. It's like AAU.
It's bigger than an individual going to a basketball evaluation, or much more like a lacrosse. Even like lacrosse is the same way, and baseball, with the show, they have individual showcases, but like it's not the same thing. Now, football was unique in the sense that combines are obviously going to be biggest in football, but the market just changed. Like if you're listen, it comes down to how many things can you do as an athlete, right? So if you're traveling 7-on-7, because we have our club, if you're playing 6 or 7-on-7 tournaments from in the South from January to let's say April, in the Northeast from like March till the beginning of May.
Right.
that's the time that you go to a lot of showcases. So if you're doing that 6 weekends out of a possible 12, that leaves you with 6 weekends to maybe go to a showcase. So that means that there's not many time you probably play if you're playing another sport and you're in high school. How many weekends do you have available? Maybe 2,
Yeah,
maybe to go to
yeah,
a showcase, maybe. And that means that out of all the events, you have to choose yours, right? Whereas before 7-on-7 became big, I think 7-on-7 is the biggest part. And we were a part of the launch of 7-on-7, believe it or not. We at one time ran like 70 tournaments, but they were smaller. They were like one size fit. Well, it's different now. Now it's by age group, like AAU is.
yes,
But yeah, once that became the thing, that changed showcases significantly because, simply put, they can't be everywhere, kids.
no, no.
So if they're here this weekend, they can't be with you.
There's only
So
24 hours in a day, too.
there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only 2 days in a weekend. They're only going to go to one place on one tournament in a weekend, unless someone's really, really determined, I guess, parental wise.
Were college coaches coming to your tournaments
They,
too, as
they
well, or
couldn't.
no?
They can't.
They
I mean,
can't, right?
D3 coaches always could,
Yeah,
but no, you can't. You can't. You can't. You still can't.
but
D3
you
coaches
would film
can't.
it and send it out.
No, so originally we were focused purely on the results because it was a combine, so it was a numbers thing, and it was an MVP thing, and who the top guys were, and all that kind of stuff.
D3 coaches could come. Isn't that just a tease? Like, hey guys, we have
Well,
nothing to offer
there's no
you.
restrictions.
Right,
Yeah.
we have nothing to offer you. So why don't you guys come here and look at these kids that you're not going
They're
to.
not going to come. They're like, it's funny because I see guys always like these new showcases now. It's funny how like people try to regurgitate the things that already failed. Like I see them like, oh, we're gonna have college coaches at the camp, and we're running a combine, and I'm
Yeah,
you
no
know,
college
there's a
coaches.
couple, there's a couple of big ones, but I'm like, that's gonna eventually phase out because as soon as parents get wind, there's only D3 coaches there, they're not coming. I'm like, we already went through this exact issue 7 years ago. Like, well, now they're just going through it. They just put lipstick on a pig and change. It's a different company.
You do it. You do a showcase in Maryland. Like, here we go. We have Hobart, Western Connecticut State.
Yeah, I'll be right there. But when we used to send it out, so back when what was great about what we did originally was underclassmen. So they were more interested in number. College coaches wouldn't bother. We're going to bother anyway. They wanted the numbers and who the best guys were, the MVPs, the list of the
Right.
top guys and the numbers of the kids, so they could sort through it and be done. This is who we were interested in starting to recruit. Boom. That's how it worked. It worked like a charm for literally 10 years. And then with 7-on-7 came in, and what basically happened too is you were going to have people. So what people didn't realize about it is like we used to get like in Houston, we had 900 kids one time, 900. So
On how many different fields?
we were on 2 full football fields. Pros practice fields were around 2.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, that was
That's
great.
it?
That was a great camp. That I think I worked with linebackers that day. I was running and we had I had these linebackers that were so awesome. And my favorite was there was a guy that was 5'8" linebacker. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot his name. He ended up playing at Rice, and then I think he finished at SMU.
Wow!
Like grad transfer there. He was 5'8". The running back goes and he steps up there. First of all, 101s for linebackers are so difficult because they're going against a running back who's usually lightning quick, and they're a linebacker. Even the most athletic guys, the very, very most athletic, still struggle in coverage, right? When you get to the 101s part.
They're running right at you. Yeah.
This kid, I don't know how he did it. His coordination was like something I'd never seen. Kid would go to run a route, and he would invariably get hands on him and knock him down wherever he went to, and he would just cover him. Again, the kid, it was over and over. It was like 4 or 5 Division I kids who ended up being Division I running backs was in that group, and he would just not. He would get his hands on. He was so, I don't know if it was because he weightlifted a lot, but he was so strong and quick, right? Like he would get there, and then I said, indulge me. Don't jam him. Just indulge me. I know you can jam. Somehow you're jamming every one of these guys, and they're basically can't get off. Like it's amazing how he was doing it. Because usually these running backs just slap it right down when you try to jam.
Yeah.
Like they're moving so quick, they just slap your hand right down.
Yeah.
They get right by you or make a move and they get by you. They couldn't get by him. Dude, he goes to the guy runs. First guy runs a wheel, gets right in his hip pocket, runs right with him like he's the running back. Then the guy breaks like a the Texas route, goes breaks
the angle route,
knocks the ball down. I was like, I always want to hate on the shorter players. That's just my natural inclination. Not running backs. Running backs, it doesn't matter. But like other skill positions, I'm they'll always say I'm a natural hater on everybody that's short.
Yeah, I hate on everyone too. It's okay.
So I would be a natural hater on short linebackers, because I'm like, where are they going to play? This guy was so good. Like after the event, I said when I send it out, I said it's going to take a while, but you're going to get recruited. And one of the kids who was the other linebacker MVP, who was also went Division I, came over and said to me, he said, "Coach, I got to tell you this. As a sophomore, he was the district linebacker player of the year. Had 110 tackles as a sophomore." I was like, he's like, I had to tell you just because you were talking to him and you're, that, but the kid was so respectful. Like he didn't even tell me that.
Yeah.
He literally he was an unbelievable player. And he didn't get a million Division I offers because of his height, but he had a handful.
Jesus.
I mean, as a sophomore, he was the district player of the year in Texas and he was a big 5'8" or whatever it was, 5'8", 6'8", whatever.
When did you notice like a big dip in profit margin from doing these showcases?
Well, profit margin is never great because when you scale up,
it wasn't okay.
Yeah, there's kind of I always said the showcases, whether I had 100 or 1,000, there was a variable rate. You had a fixed cost, which was the facility cost, but you had certain costs related to each player that didn't change, like T-shirt, insurance, all those kind of things. So that didn't change. And you would scale up coaches. So at 900 kids, we were going to have 1 million coaches I was paying. Whereas at 100 kids, I'm going to have 1/10 the number of coaches. So it was kind of the only thing that you could get a better deal on basically was the facility. But there was a variable cost. And in order to get 900 kids there, we used to spend, and I'm not kidding, this is the truth. When we did, I think we did 1.9 in just from camp revenue, 1.9 million. I don't remember which year it was, but there's like 2 or 3 year run where we're like between 1.9 and 2.3, I think, million. We were spending $750,000 on Google ads a year.
Wow.
So it was not like, that's why I say it's a scale up, scale down thing. If I spent 0 on Google ads, okay, we wouldn't have had 20,000 kids. I might have had 5,000 kids, but it would still been the same profit margin. I don't know if that makes any sense. Frank would understand that.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Listen, if you could do one camp and make all your money in one camp, you would do one camp. But bottom line, to make your profit that you need to make, that's why there's 30, 40, 50, 100 camps. You have to.
Right. So the scaling up it gave you more revenue, gave you more staff, but the overall profit margin, which is why I didn't as it started to change, I didn't completely keep doubling down because I'm like, all I'm going to do is spend more and decline my profit margins more.
Absolutely.
So that's all. So that's when I realized. So I thought it was at first I thought there was all these offshoots of it that was going to be scalable. So we literally, I think you could argue that we're the only group ever to scale to the max.
Sounds like it took it to the moon. Yeah.
To showcases, like literally, could I have squeezed more revenue out in certain areas? Probably, but I was young. I didn't really understand all that stuff. Yep. But as far as scaling, that's when I realized this is not a business that you're going to go and build, mansions from, because I realized I basically was running 20,000 kids through, I mean, how many more customers could you have? And people are like, well, you could have did recruiting services. Well,
Right.
we were partnered with a recruiting services company at the time who did scale that model basically through us, which is NCSA, which is now owned by IMG. That guy sold his business. So it's funny, we talked about it originally, like when he became partners with us. And I was like, I don't really want to get into that game. But like that game was much more profitable than our game.
Listen, it's in business. I equate it to the Subway sandwich or Dunkin' Donuts. You don't own one; you own 25 of them, and that's how you build up your money. So that's why you have to spread it around and keep doing it. I understand completely. Hey, per Tom Pellisario, just read through one of my scrolls right now. He says that the Los Angeles Chargers are close to signing Najee Harris. So they're working out a deal right now to strengthen their backfield even more. One of the better running games in the NFL is going to add Najee Harris. That's not bad.
No, not at all.
With the Chargers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, with Dobbins and with Edwards, and now add on Najee Harris.
Well, I think running in the NFL, what Philadelphia has shown, if you can run the ball,
works.
It works, dude.
Yeah, because who's practicing? Who's practicing in practice? You practice stop the run? Nobody practices stopping the run.
Nobody tackles in practice.
No, they can't.
They're in shorts and like some shoulder pads, and they're like tagging each guy on the way through. Like
every year, I would have a 350-pound offensive lineman in my draft class. Every year, I got to find the biggest guy out there, and then
push.
And then just get it back and let's go. Line it up. Let's see what you got.
Where would you put him? Right guard?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I put my biggest guy at right guard. I would still, the length thing and feet for the tackles is totally correct. Especially the blind side and left side most of the time. And I think these guys are going with small. The Kelseys of the world, the Alexander. I mean, I still think a big center would be if you're talking over 300 pounds, 310, 312, and the kid can play center and he can move. That's where you want a big kid at center too. I would love that because you're working off of so many combos and so many bump and step backs, to the second level. I think a bigger body at that position is better. Just shields it up as long as they can run. If they can't run, forget about it.
I think in the NFL now, basically you want the old Dallas Cowboys with Emmitt Smith offense on the interior.
Yes.
Stepnoski, Newton, and who was the other guy? The three guys. Those three, the two guards and in the middle, and then now who their left tackle and right tackle, they were great, but they probably wouldn't be considered. I think they're all Hall of Famers, but I don't know if they would be as quick.
It was Larry Allen, wasn't Larry Allen?
Larry Allen, yeah, he just passed.
Larry Allen was unbelievable, but Larry Allen probably wouldn't be considered he might. What did he play? Right or left? He played both, actually. I think.
Yeah, I thought it was right guard.
Yeah,
I think it's right guard.
I mean, those guys were. I remember he went and played some tackle. There's some videos of him going playing tackle too, but those guys are unstoppable.
That 2-A too, right? Wasn't Matt 2-A was a guard for Dallas? I may be wrong. I thought he was a rotation somewhere.
Cowboys offensive line with Emmitt Smith. This is a great question of the day. Who was on that line?
Eric Williams was a tackle, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Eric Williams was a tackle.
Eric Williams, yeah.
The great Cowboy line.
Yeah, they could have put you behind them, and you would have ran well.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Hey man, Daryl Johnston, Syracuse.
They could have put you behind them, and they would have ran.
No. The line of scrimmage.
Let's see. Mark 2-A, Eric Williams.
2-A, yep. It was 2-A, yep.
Stepnoski, Nate Newton, John Gezick, Kevin Gogan.
That's right.
I guess Larry Allen was later on.
Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, Gogan was huge too. Gogan was a big lineman. Yeah, I think if someone brings back that style, which I think what's his name in San Diego? San Diego again. Jesus, that's what I call them. I hate calling the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers, Harbaugh. I think he's bringing that in his niche. He's just going to jam the ball down your throat and see what you got. And I think that's a good, and maybe that'll let Herbert last a little longer in the NFL instead of being on his back. He's an injury prone guy anyways. He's nicked up every year. So I mean, I think that's not a bad formula for the Chargers.
I think. By the way, Steve, I like that you brought up me. I could have ran behind that.
You could have.
If Skip Holtz had not come in and Tom Jackson would have stayed in there, I would have had some great rushing career as a fullback there.
You probably would have.
With Wilbur, Gilliard would have ran for records yardage wise that would have never been touched. Now, here's the interesting thing.
Yeah, because Skip put in the option, which killed everything.
Put in a different thing, and eventually it worked out when he got to Shane's class. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like a few years later, but he sacrificed a couple of years to get to that class,
right?
Which I thought was crazy. Tom Jackson's team, when my redshirt freshman year, we were 6-5, I think, and we lost to BU. If we had won that game, we would have won the Yankee Conference and went to the playoffs. If we lost, which we ended up losing in a close game, we lost that game. They had a really good quarterback at the time, BU, and he was like a little fluty. And they beat us in a close game. They went to the playoffs instead of us. Tom Jackson was very close. If it wasn't for the fact that UConn, which if in the long run for UConn, it was the right move, meaning they wanted to go Division I in football, which eventually brought, your classes and all those kinds. So if you look at the long run of UConn per se, it was probably the right move, you could argue, because Skip set the tone eventually for Randy, which eventually, and then of course, once Randy left, it changed and the whole thing changed, but and Moritz bringing it back. But I think what they were trying to do, that's why Skip was important for that part of it, right? If they left Tom Jackson in, he would have won multiple conference championships with the team and went to the playoffs. But definitely, because we had the whole team coming back. The team that won 6-5, the whole entire team. Zeke Rogers was the starting quarterback. He was a true sophomore who literally was a gunslinger. And we literally ran the offset eyes, the split backfield, a lot of the 90s stuff that you saw probably in the NFL. We ran it, and we had enormous linemen as big as your Division I linemen when you were there.
Oh, yeah.
But we were FCS. It was crazy. We had huge guys, but a lot of them weren't great fits for Skip's initial style. So it was hard for that whole transition. But if they kept the group that was recruited by TJ, those guys, I mean, they would have won multiple conference championships. Like by the time I was a junior, senior, they would have won multiple because we had gigantic receivers, gigantic tight ends, gigantic offensive linemen. And it was crazy the size that we had. Like we were blown. I mean, Wilbur Gilliard was running for acres as a redshirt sophomore, But anyway, that's it.
He did. All right. Well, we will see you shortly for another banner episode of Rebel Republic. This has been Moneyline with the voice of reason, Frank Cristiano,
Of course.
and the asshole himself, Coach Schuman. And remember,
he's making up for last week for the lack of confidence we had in his
when my friends didn't stick up for me. My friends,
what happened last week?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's okay.
Oh yes.
That's
self-inflicted, my friend.
It's self-inflicted. Thank you. I appreciate.
Don't blame others when it's self-inflicted.
I appreciate the support.
Self-inflicted.
What did you say, Dave? Some guy is in India is enjoying a Ruth Chris steak right now.
Well, listen. You know what?
If you think about short, got 1 million views. By the way,
what happened?
Well, I put that as a reel, and it got 1 million views.
Oh, you got to send me that. I got to see that.
But it's hilarious.
You know what I wanted to say? If you think about it from a standpoint of you were doing good for society, someone got a Swiss steak in some impoverished country.
You know what? I gave back.
He's like
That's
USA.
what I'm saying.
I gave back.
He's
I
You
did.
gave
USA.
back. That wasn't your intention, but you did.
Right. But I did.
You unintentionally gave back.
And you know what? I'll sleep better at night.
Do you feel better about that?
It's a gold star for me.
That was part of the
That's it. You're going to heaven, baby.
Oh,
part of $58 billion U.S. aid
that
package.
got me in.
Yeah.
That got me in. That got me in.
Good for you.
All right. So remember, life gives you lemons. Don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges.
Trade him in.
You dang